Ever since the new Gran Turismo update came out, I didn't play it for the first 3 days, which is quite unusual. But we got three new cars. The new 2024 GTR, the last one ever. I know it's sad. After 17 years, they're going to kill it. But we also got another Evo, which I haven't even driven yet. But quite possibly the most controversial addition of all was the Hiace. And that got me thinking, what if we turned the Hiace into a race car because of this new engine swap? I thought it was a good idea to put an LS7 into a Hiace, and yeah, I kind of turned it into quite the machine. And I will take you on a tour with me on the full process on how I did it right about now. So stick around, and maybe you should like the video because I seriously need it. So for starters, this van is $25,000, which I can easily afford, and yeah, basically it just comes with this crappy inline four or V6. I don't know what engine it is in it, nor do I care because I'm putting a big LS in it anyways.
Now that I've fitted all the parts to the van, it seems as if the suspension still needs some more fine tuning. As I find out later on when I come to corner at very high speeds, it just completely loses all control, as you'll see in this next clip. This is another prime example. This one was partially my fault, you'll see why. Now this one was my favorite.
Once I head on over and spend this mind blowing $300,000 on this LS swap, I can go ahead and buy every single racing option from suspension, increased rigidity, max out the weight savings, and bigger brakes. But there is one catch. I would suggest opting for the high end torque or RPM turbocharger. I don't want to go ultra high RPM because ultra high RPM is for drag racing only, which would suit cars like a GTR that are basically just missiles for the road. But since I intend to use this van for a track vehicle, I want to play it safe and use a high RPM turbocharger because then it won't be so torquey, if you know what I mean. Now, to show you guys that this actually works, I'm going to go to Tokyo Expressway and to do a track test. I'm going to put it up against the 992 GT3 RS, which you all know I have a personal attachment to, but you know me, I love my 911 GT3 RS as much as I hate the people who glaze the hell out of that car. So, yeah, please stop. Without further ado, let's compare these track times, and I'm going to show you how well this van performs on the track. As I hopped in my 911 to complete this track time, I'm going to push this car to its absolute limits to make this as fair as possible, and there can only be one winner, so no room for mistakes. I'm going to push this car to its absolute limits over every corner and every crevice of this track to make this as fair as possible. And I would genuinely be surprised if a van can beat a supercar, but we'll see if the car can prove me wrong. Now that I've switched up to the high ace, I have noticed something that is a lot different, and that is the acceleration. Because considering that you're in the Porsche, it does have really fast acceleration and amazing cornering, but it does not have a fast top speed. It only tops out at around almost 190, and the van tops out easily over 220, I think. So that gives a big advantage over the Porsche, and I think I genuinely did well on this lap, and yet I was genuinely surprised to find out that the van beat a 992 GT3 RS. Let that sink in. Now, with that being said, I feel like now it's time to turn it into a full blown race car by racing race cars, if you know what I mean. So I created this livery that's minimalistic for the most part, but I might change it later on eventually. I just wanted some TRD stickers and some LS7 badging, and then I would just call it good for the most part. Now, with that being said, now that the van has been adjusted to the right suspension and transmission settings, It's now time to take it hypercar racing for the first time. Here we are, the first race with hypercars in the van. Now, what I've noticed is that I can easily overtake and have no problems with others passing me, but my only problem is the corners, and that is because I simply just can't slow down and I'm not used to the new setup. But in these few laps, I learned the settings a little bit and I do get better at it. You'll see here. By the time lap two came around, I was pretty confident that I would really have no problems beating everyone. But my only complaint is that when I come from 200 miles an hour to slow down to turn, I often lose control. And I haven't really found a fix to this, so I just try to be careful with my steering. But other than that, I have no complaints. And by the time the third lap came around and I have already beat everybody, I just won from there. I really had no problems of anyone passing me. So yeah, it can beat hypercars. That's something that it can do. Now that I'm gonna readjust the gears so that I have a higher first gear, it's time to do our final test, and it's to run a lap at Goodwood. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the Ford Supervan 4, which did a run at Goodyear a couple years ago, it's pretty fast. But what I want to do here is basically what I've done with the highest, is kind of recreate the gas powered van that can actually be a race car because we don't like electric cars. No one does. So, that's what I'm trying to get at here. So, I'm going to see how fast of a lap I can do here at Goodwood and compare it to the other cars that I've raced in the past. To start off the lap, we got to make sure we don't hit any of the barriers that create the S curve as we send it down the straight. We want to be very careful into taking the turn and to not overrun by going way too fast as we continue on the very fast little straights that also create the smaller S curves. This van so far is handling very beautifully as we perfectly executed the end of the S curve and we just continue on straight until we hit the sharp right turn towards the end of the straight and we continue onwards to the next big straight until the finish line. Coming from over 200 miles an hour to just down to 60 just to take in that right curve just a little bit on the safe side as we continue on straight until the final S curve and then the last straight until the finish. Guys, it's safe to say that I've done it. I took a van that used to sound like this into this monstrosity of a machine. And I hope that you guys found this video helpful into creating your own vans that can drive like race cars. And I thought I'd like to document my process along the way as Gran Turismo has been finding the most creative ways to make some of the coolest and weirdest engine swaps. But it's safe to say this one is rather helpful despite its odd appearance. I think this would be a good candidate for a race car to use on the track or just for fun. If you want to turn it into a drag missile, by all means, go ahead. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my video. I'm getting somewhere close to 500 subscribers. So if you did enjoy this, please give it a like. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.